You feel well fed and rested? You're not going to like fall asleep now, right? Okay, good. So what are you guys getting in touch with? What are you guys learning? What are you feeling like is the message that you're hearing? Anyone want to share?
So to me, the analogy I would come up with is, I don't know if you've ever been cliff jumping, like into the water, and you watch people and you think, oh, they're safe, they didn't die, I can do that. And then you always have your people that are sitting on the side, they're like, they're crazy. And you walk up to the edge of that cliff, and the longer you stand there and look down, you just like slowly talk yourself out of it and end up being one of these people. But if you just walk up and jump, like it's so exhilarating and like empowering, and that's really what I'm getting is like subconsciously sometimes how I feel like I get to the edge of the cliff because I'm pumped up and I'm ready, and then it's like, it's my golden goose, like what am I gonna let go of? And so that's been really inspiring to me and really eye-opening is, you just gotta get up there and jump, and then that's where the fun is.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. Anyone else? One more person. Who hasn't shared? All right, someone over here. All right.
She got outed.
For myself, I've been learning quite a bit where I just need to get a lot more clarity as far as the direction that I really want to go, the type of person that I would be more attracted to the message that I have instead of the type of client that I would like to work with, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
And so it's been really good that way. So.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. All right, I'm going to start with a little story. Actually, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. When I was...
Name again?
What's your name?
My name is Jen. Hi. When I was in high school, my junior year of high school, I had the opportunity to try out for cheerleader. And I actually made it that year. And the thing that was super exciting about that for me was the most exciting thing, the thing that I look forward to the most was cheer camp. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to a sports camp or a camp of any kind. It's kind of fun. It's like a bonding experience to get to know the people that you're with. Well, one of the things that I know about cheer camp, or what I experienced while I was at cheer camp, was that we were not the only school there, right? So this was every school from all over the valley. We went up to Utah State University, we stayed in the dorms, and we did cheer. So we cheered and we danced and we did all these things because what we were doing was learning how to be better at our craft, right? And not only were we learning to get better at our craft, but we were learning how to, like our main goal there was to win the Spirit Award because all the schools in the whole state of Utah were there. And of course, during the year, while we're in school, we're gonna be competing against all these other schools, right? And so the goal of cheer camp was to win the Spirit Award. I think it was called the Spirit Stick. And every time we did a new cheer, each group would have to stand up and do their cheer, and then everybody would vote or cheer. And it seemed like the leaders of the camps were there judging us because the Spirit Stick was on the line, right? And so we were constantly being judged and looked at by the other schools. And of course, we're competitive, right? We want to beat the other schools. And so every time we did that, we got more and more competitive. Well, there was one girl on our team, and her name was Heather. And Heather was our school mascot. And obviously, for a reason, she's the mascot, right? Because she's the most enthusiastic, she's the most outgoing. And I remember really envying her. Because I don't know if any of you guys were like this when you were in high school, but I was really worried about what people thought of me. I wanted to fit in more than I wanted to stand out and be different. And now you guys might think, oh, well, cheerleaders, they're right out there in front. They want to stand out and be different, but I was hiding in the group of cheerleaders. Does that make sense? And so I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like everyone else. I did not want to be different. But at the same time, inside of me, just aching to be like Heather. Because Heather was fearless. She did not care what anyone else thought. She was so clear about who she was. And I just really admired that. And I thought, how in my life can I show up like her? And I'll tell you the reason why I wanted to be so much like her. It's because every time we would sit in a group and we'd get ready to do our cheer and other groups would go, she'd be like high-fiving them. And I was like, what the crap, are you on our team? You should be like high-fiving us. But no, you're high-fiving all these other people saying, great job. And I just thought, oh, like she has the ability to make friends with people who are like our enemy. How does she do that? She's like, that's not like okay, right? I was thinking, you gotta fit in, you gotta be here with us. Don't stand out and be like friends with everyone. But what I didn't know at the end of this whole thing was that the Spirit Award was something that we got to vote on. So we all voted for the school who had the most school spirit. Well, believe it or not, I believe that truly, we won the Spirit Award that year. But I want to say the reason why I feel like that actually happened was not because I was super. It wasn't because we were the most fantastic group there, because honestly, we all did a really great job. But I really believe that it was because Heather was willing to step out and be different. She was willing to connect with all those different people and show up in a way that was so enthusiastic all the time, wherever she went, that she single-handedly won that award for us. And so, basically what I want to say by sharing that story with you is that it is so important for us to be uniquely who we are. That is the key ingredient. Travis has brought it up, and several people have brought that up, that we can all be coaches here, but our unique individuality is what really sets us apart and makes us different. We could be coaching on relationships, right? But I'm going to have a few different experiences than you're going to have. Would you agree? And so she's going to relate and connect with certain people that I'm not able to reach and connect with. And so by being uniquely myself, that's what's actually going to make all the difference. And so again, my name is Jen, and what I do in life, or who I am, is I am a personal development coach, and I also work in the corporate world as a process coach as well. And so I'm super excited about that because my passion is absolutely coaching people. I love when people get so clear, and this is my passion, is assisting people to get so clear on who they are and what they're about creating in this world that no one that they would ever come in contact with would doubt them for a second. And so my purpose in being here today is just to remind you, again, how important it is for you to be uniquely you, because that's what's going to make the difference. And so what I'm going to invite you guys to do is something you've kind of already done here today. But evidently this is super important because it keeps coming up. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is in a moment I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And I want you to really get in touch with your purpose. What is it that you really, truly, in your gut, just know is your message that you want to share with the world? And I know we've kind of touched on this, but seriously, this is so huge. I want you to go ahead and just close your eyes and take a moment. I invite you to do that now. Get in touch with the message that it is so important to you that almost makes you want to throw up. It makes you just feel sick. It could be negative, it could be positive, but it's that first thing that comes to your mind. And when I say negative, it's because oftentimes that's the thing that scares us the most, but it's the thing that we know that we get to do. And so oftentimes it may feel negative or feel like I'm not really that strong. But what I'm going to invite you to do is as soon as you're clear about what that is, I want you to open your eyes and I want you to write it down on a piece of paper. And then when I notice that everybody has got that done, I'm just going to give you 30 seconds because I don't want you to overthink it. I just want you to come from your heart, the first thing that comes to your mind, write that down. Okay, and the next question I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes one more time. So hopefully you're really got that down. And now I'm going to invite you to close your eyes one more time. And the next question I'm going to ask you is this. Are you ready? Who am I? Now I don't want you to say my name's Jen Hardy and I'm a corporate process coach, or this is what I do in life. Who am I? The way I'm asking it is, what are 2 or 3 qualities? Am I loving? Am I passionate? Am I powerful? Am I a giver? 2 or 3 qualities that you have either heard from people that is who you are, or that you really know that you either want to cultivate or that you want to bring to the world about who you are. So just 2 or 3 things, get really clear on those, and as soon as you're clear with those, I want you to open your eyes. I invite you to open your eyes and just write those down. awesome. Now, does anybody want to take just a minute to share what they got in touch with really quickly? So 1 or 2 people really quick. This one hasn't shared before, so I'm going to invite you to share. Are you open to sharing?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm Marcy.
Hi, Marcy.
Hello. I put to inspire women, help them find their value. And then I also put I'm a strong, inspiring woman with high potential to succeed.
Beautiful. That's excellent. Thank you.
All right, who else?
Anyone? Anyone brave? Who's brave? All right, Helen.
I think the thing that was interesting to me is what came up for me was a little bit different. I work a lot with family and teen relationships. But when you had me close my eyes, what came up for me was connection, collaboration, and solution finding and creation around suicide prevention. So I'm not just connecting with the families and working with the teenagers, but creating all kinds of collaboration with other organizations because there are places in the middle where we're losing kids. And the qualities of me that I put down is I enjoy. I am a loving, calm, healing mother energy, and I'm very compassionate and inspirational.
So that's exactly what I was looking for. And the reason I had to do this exercise is because I have found that this tool of knowing who you are and knowing what your purpose is and what you're about in this world, at least for me, has been probably the most empowering tool that I could possibly even say. You know when you get a tool and you get clear about who you are and what you're about, all of a sudden the universe goes, oh yeah, prove it. And so the universe gave me an opportunity to prove it. And not too far in the past, I found myself in a situation where I had basically hit rock bottom. And I could go into that a little bit. I will go into that a little bit. I found myself, I had been in a relationship that I chose into that I felt like was really like it, that we were gonna make it, this was gonna be happening. And I really felt confident in myself, I was sure about who I was and where I was going, and yet it literally wasn't very long into the relationship before I started seeing signs that this was not going in the direction that I was hoping for. Well, I'm not a quitter, right? I'll do whatever it takes to make this work. And so I kept working at it. And when I found myself, probably 10 months later, was $15,000 in credit card debt. So that was all the credit I had maxed out. I had a business that had started, and that was in the hole. I had a part-time job that I was using to kind of create that stable income to keep a hold of that golden egg, if you will. And while I was building the business, and I decided to let that go so I could build my business full-time, like grow that golden egg and then start in the business. So now I didn't even have the part-time income. The business was going in the hole. My relationship was falling apart. I was in debt. And then all of a sudden the relationship decided, bye. And I had allowed that person to convince me that this was a good thing, putting all the extra expenses that we weren't making in our business on credit cards that were in my name. So needless to say, I found myself in a pretty dark place. I still had 2 young kids at home that I was taking care of. So I had I think it was a 12 and a 15-year-old at the time. And I was really concerned that I was going to lose one of my children to their other parent because I couldn't provide a roof over their head anymore because I had no income coming in. That meant that where I was living was no longer an option to stay there. And so I was like scrambling to move. And mind you, this was in the middle of end of July, beginning of August. So how many moms are in the room that know what happens in August? School, right? And so not only was I losing the place that I had to live, but I was also trying to figure out where the crap I was going to live and then how I was going to get my kids enrolled in school and where they would be. And so it was a lot of stress. Well, because I went through that, I went through pretty much 3 or 4 months of just dark nights of the soul. How am I going to do this? I thought I knew who I was. Maybe I'm so confused. Maybe I don't really know. I started doubting myself and having all this self-talk. And then somebody turned me on to a mentor who was literally somebody I've never met before, but I would listen to every morning. And what this person did that I listened to every morning on audios was to remind me who I was and what I was about creating in the world, because what she was sharing with me resonated so much about what I believed was the most important thing for me in my life, was to get clear about who I was and where I was going, because I knew that that would be the driving force. So I listened to her in and out for several months. And then I finally told myself, you know who you are. You know why you're here. It doesn't freaking matter what you do in life as long as you can do those two things. Be who you are and know what you're about. And so I decided I was going to put my big girl panties on and get back to work, right? Because feeling sorry for myself was not working. And so I put those big girl panties on, one leg at a time, like some people do. And I started making connections with some of my friends. And so to make a long story short, I reached out to one of my girlfriends and she said, oh, I just went on this amazing Tinder date with this guy. We didn't really hit it off, but he was super nice and he's probably into some things that you might be interested in. I bet he would be willing to meet with you over coffee and just tell you what it would take to get into the industry. And the industry he was in was finance, and he's a finance manager at an automobile dealership, Volkswagen, as a matter of fact, in Salt Lake. And I said, well, I don't know why you would want to meet with me, but I'm open. I've already been looking and talking to other jobs, and nothing felt quite right. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. What do I have to lose, right? And when I had made the commitment to myself that I was going to put my big girl panties on, I really was like, okay, it's time for me to remember who I am and what I'm about. And I'm going to follow every lead that I can, because I'm just going to actually listen to my heart this time. I'm going to come from my heart and say, what does my heart say that I get to do? And I'm going to trust and follow that. So that's what kind of led me to this meeting with this gentleman and having coffee. I said, okay, I feel good about this. I'm going to go with it. Well, that turned into him introducing me to someone else, which was the general manager over at Audi in Salt Lake City. And quite honestly, I was just like, okay, whatever, because when we sat down for coffee, we didn't even talk about what I was going to take into the business, and so I wasn't even sure I was going to hear from him. We ended up having a really great conversation about relationships. And I thought, well, that was kind of fun. I'm probably never going to hear from him. 4 days later, he called me and said, I have an interview with my general manager, that's my buddy over at Audi. And I said, great, let's go talk to him. And so when I went and sat in his office, it literally felt like I was at home, which is a feeling I'd felt before, and it felt really good. And so I was like, okay, this is interesting. And we just sat down, we were chatting like we were old pals and buddies, and I just thought, okay. And by the end of that little chat, because all three of us were there, he didn't leave so that I could be interviewed. He just kind of sat and we visited like we were old friends. And by the end of the meeting, he had offered me a job, basically, and said, I just want you to come back and talk to the person that will actually be your manager and you'll be working with, and I want you to just kind of talk to him. And I said, okay. And it was interesting because as I met with him and I shared some of my experiences, the general manager told this other manager that I had been through some kind of program called Impact Training, and he wondered what that was. And my new manager evidently had been through this Impact Training and knew exactly what that was, but I didn't know that at the time. And so as I sat down with him and we're talking and I'm telling him about why I feel like I'll be a good fit there, he stopped me mid-sentence and he says, what liftoff are you? So in Impact, they have a liftoff. So it means whatever group you go through and you graduate with, they give you a number. And I told him, and we had a great conversation about that. And it basically says we have a lot of the same belief systems or ways of being and stuff like that. Anyway, so to make a long story short, I started at the very bottom because that's what you do in the car business. You start at the bottom, and I was a greeter, and I welcomed people to the dealership. And I said, I can love on people. I can make them feel welcome. That's what I'm good at. I just want to love them and say, you couldn't be here, right? And so what I did was within 2 days, I went from being a greeter to being a trainer of the salespeople in the sales office. So I sat with them and coached them on how to get better at sales and get better basically at their craft. And I was like, I don't know why I'm there, but it's okay. And being at the dealership actually gave me the opportunity to take a look at myself because it was something I wasn't really willing to do fully. So when the universe tests you, gives you an opportunity to look and say, who am I? I had another opportunity to do that while I was at Audi. I was looking at them and saying, wow, I've done that job before, and I've done that job before, and I've done that job before. And I started to really see my value, which really confused me because I was like, well, I thought I knew. But for some reason, being there really assisted me into seeing that at a deeper level. And so what I've since created was 6 months later, after being in that position of training the sales guys. And I don't know that I did any training other than just loving on them and letting them know how valued they were and important it was that they were doing the job they were doing, that they were the driving force. They decided that they were going to open a whole new department, and that was going to be the internet department. So we were just going to do sales from leads that came in from the internet. And they decided they needed someone to be in charge, and they asked me. So I became a sales manager of sales guys, and I've never even sold a car yet, right? So here I am now being a manager, and not only is that pretty cool, but it was really cool because I'm a woman. And as being a woman in a sales position in a car dealership is not very common. And so I felt really excited and proud of that. And then the next step, 6 months later, fast forward, I decided that that wasn't good enough. I needed to promote myself again. And so I went to the owner and said, hey, so we're really needing this thing, and I'd really like to do it. And what that basically was is becoming a process coach, assisting with processes that were happening at the dealership and making sure they were running smoothly. And so that's currently where I am right now, is working there as a process coach. So I'm super excited because really what my job entails is loving on people all day and letting them know how amazing they are and that they can do it. And whatever they set their minds to, they can accomplish there. And not only did I start at the very bottom, but within 15 months, I tripled my income, which made me feel pretty excited because I thought, I can do this, so can anyone else. So it just gave me more belief in myself. And it made me realize that me standing out and being uniquely who I was, because I literally don't feel like I did anything special, other than I really did love on people and let them know how important that they were. And it took me back to that story at the beginning with Heather, how she stood out and she was willing to do something different. And I really felt like that's what was missing there. They really needed somebody to come in and just love them and let them know that they were valued. And so if there's anything that I can tell you as coaches, and I know that you get it probably more than anyone else, it's how to be uniquely you, because you are the one that makes a difference. You standing out and you being different is truly what is going to make you an outstanding coach. So, thank you. Woo!